there's nobody really worth it like that. That's the way that I'm looking at it. Like I see these album sales and stuff. I'm like, I can't really see an artist that's worth getting fucked over on. Oh, you just stand out with the music, but even that's hard. So it's like you kind of need skills and you got to like offer a service. Song leaks, album leaks, artists all of a sudden not coming out anymore.
Welcome to the Made It in the Studio podcast, where we spotlight some of the creatives behind your favorite songs. I'm your host, Desmond A., and today we have a special guest. Today's guest is a two-time Grammy-nominated multi-platinum record producer. He's produced records for popular recording artists such as Lil Wayne, Mac Miller, T-Pain, Eric Bellinger, Trey Songz, Schoolboy Q. The list goes on and on and on. It's with great pleasure that I introduce to the podcast DrewsThatDude, a.k.a. Andrew Lloyd.
Bro, thank you. Thank you for the intro, man. I appreciate you.
You're welcome, man. As a matter of fact, I got to let you know a little secret. You're actually one of my favorite producers.
Oh, man, bro, it's an honor, man. I really appreciate that. Good looking out.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Actually found you on SoundCloud and a couple different places. And I've been listening to your music for about 10 years now. I just realized how long it's been.
Man, bro. Yeah, it's been a long journey for sure. And I appreciate all the support for real.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, just starting from the top, how did you first get into music in general? And then how did you find yourself into music production specifically?
Okay. Well, I've been playing piano since I was like a little kid, maybe about 5 years old. And then I eventually started graduating because I wasn't able to play the music that I wanted to. So I learned how to play bass guitar. I was doing like bass lessons in like middle school and things like that. And I had a friend who was into music production that I used to play ball with. And he was like, one day he like came through and like installed Fruity Loops on the computer. And he was like burning beats and stuff that he needed to make for a CD. Because he was like selling to like rappers in like Harlem and shit like that. So I was like, oh, this whole process of just like, you can make music. You don't even know how to play an instrument. You can make music. You go and print it on a CD and you go in and selling it. That's pretty much, once I seen it, I was able to be like, yeah, that's pretty much what I want to do. I want to be able to make music, dress it up, sell it, because that's pretty much all I know. And then from there, it was pretty much easy. Like maybe 16, 17. I think we had like Scratch Magazine existed back then. So it's like, I kind of had a vision of what producers were doing. So it's like when I'm in high school being like, oh, what do you want to do? I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be a producer. I want to do that. So it was just kind of easy to have a path to follow for real.
One thing I know about you is that you actually went to, was it Berklee College of Music for music?
Yeah.
And that's kind of I really don't hear too many producers going that classical, traditional route. So what made you go to Berklee College of Music instead of just jumping out there and just selling beats and cooking up beats that way?
I think like the main thing is like my parents always kind of value education. And I just kind of knew automatically like I wouldn't be able to just like tell my mom and pops like, yeah, I'm gonna just make beats, and like it just wouldn't fly. So I already in my head was like, how can I flip this into a way that I could like go to school, do what I'm supposed to be doing, but still be like in the world of music? And I don't even think Full Sail was really existed really. There was probably like 2 years at school when Full Sail didn't really exist. All the other music programs were kind of like real traditional. And I was like, this is the story program. So I was like, okay, yeah, let me go and apply there. And I just kind of knew like from the biz, because my sister, she's in med school and stuff like that. I just knew like the concept of like going to a high institution just holds weight when you hold having conversations with different things. So I already knew that. That's just how people operate, whether people like it or not. Like you say you go to Yale, you say you go to Harvard. I'm looking at it like that. Like when I go over say that I'm this person, introducing myself, it's like, yeah, I go to Berklee. And like people's like, oh, okay, cool. I'm like, so once I kind of realized that, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to go to try to figure out how to align school with like my dreams and goals and what I'm going to do, just because there's just a group of people with brand that really value that type of stuff.
Has having that degree from Berklee opened up doors for you as far as business, music wise?
I'll say it definitely, well, one, gives me the opportunity to even submit for certain like things. So sometimes people will be hiring or like pitching out for a great opportunity and they'll be like, oh yeah, you need to have a bachelor's degree or things like that. So it definitely like gives me the leg up on that. It looks good on like grant applications, things like that. It just does a lot of like added value to the overall experience when you come into not necessarily exactly like, and then you never really know because of the network. You know what I'm saying? Like the network of people, because like making it in music and being like a household name is hard. But like a lot of the kids that I went to school with, they are head A&Rs at this publishing company. They work at this sync licensing company. So it's like, even in that, you can build your work relationships. There's a lot of people that I knew from college that a lot of the opportunities like synth programming, stuff like that, that you just never really know. So it just gives you a real diverse, where you can get that opportunity from a lot of different, just school in general. You can meet, you never know who you're going to meet. But like when you're in a music school and everybody's goal is to do music, it kind of makes it easier to be, you're basically inherently, your whole class is your network, kind of like I all from like even people who graduated in 1965. Like I just be like, yeah, I'm Drew. I graduated in 2012. Like you can build a lot of conversation. It's a lot more of a cheat code that I think people aren't realizing until like you see how a lot of these people are using their degrees and things to boost their business, like in the business world or law or medicine and stuff. And like music is a $1 billion business. That's why I was like, it was $1 billion business. So it kind of operates the same to me.
Now, there's a little bit of like out there in the producer world, some people are like, "Hey, I can learn everything I need about production and engineering from YouTube and maybe interning for a little bit, and I could bypass the full sales and the Berkleys." But it sounds like you nailed in on the networking aspect, which is super super valuable. So let me get your opinion on that. What would your advice be to a younger producer who's currently struggling between YouTube University and just going out there in the trenches versus going to an actual school
Yeah.
like Full Sail, Berkeley, so on and so forth?
I think even one like shit, I'm old as dirt. Like YouTube wasn't even as developed like that when I was in college. So I can't even be like, nah, don't do that because it wasn't even available. The amount of information wasn't available like now. So I do think like I couldn't be mad if a dude like, bro, I hear what you're saying, but like I could learn everything. So it's like school now is definitely more towards the network value than the information value for a lot of these things. And I always be saying this like when I went to school, streaming services didn't exist. So how could they prepare me for the streaming world now? You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be like my degree was useless, but like I got a music business degree. What business was I learning? I was learning the business of the time in the past, but like you gotta kind of be self motivated to like learn and do more, like regardless of the situation. Cause like you definitely don't want to put yourself in debt. You definitely want to try to get some scholarships. You definitely want to try to figure out ways to not front that bill. Cause as far as like the education and knowledge, I can't lie to you. Like engineering and producing, like nobody, no teacher's gonna teach you how to be fired. Like no teacher's gonna be able to like do that. But like if you playing an instrument and you want that direct access to practice rooms studios and things like that, and teachers and professors. It's like that. But as far as straight information and then what most people want, nah, brother. Like they're not gonna teach you how to get that kick hard. Like they're not gonna teach you. They're gonna teach you like concepts, theory, and then like how to apply that. But it's only gonna be as good. Like I don't know what they're teaching about like the AI era of making music. I don't know what they're teaching about independent music distribution. Like they just started, I think TuneCore like just started getting motion when I was like graduating type thing. So it's kind of hard for me to be like, yeah, the school's going, you gonna learn everything you need to know. I'm like, I can't say that. I kind of been out the years. It's a whole different world when it comes to that.
Now, jumping back into your story in particular, I know you're a classically trained musician, and these days, a lot of producers are some of them are clicking, some of them are just chopping up splice samples. From your experience, would you say being a classically trained musician has given you an edge over other producers, or does it not really matter?
Oh yeah, no, it definitely gives the edge. Like being able to play an instrument just from like work perspective, it gives like I wouldn't even have. I know we're gonna get into the placement conversation later, but it kind of ties in where it's like I wouldn't have the relationships or network that I have if I didn't have the skill of the piano because a lot of people don't do it. So it's like everybody's not everybody got beats, but like I think people underestimate how good their peers are. Like there's a lot of talent. Like there's a lot of good music that they're choosing from. So sometimes standing out with the music is even like people be like, oh yeah, just stand out with the music. But even that's hard. So it's like you kind of need skills and you got to like offer a service. So it's like, okay, I play piano. oh, I got synth lead. That's my thing. Okay, I'm a synth guy. And then you're getting contacted. You're getting on albums bigger than you'd be able to personally reach to simply because, like, oh, yeah, nah, we got to hit this dude up. So you're a drummer, you're a bassist, you play. I know chicks that play flute get on album, things like that. Like it just gives you a little bit of an advantage. Musically, it definitely. I feel like the training it helps your ear because you're listening to a lot of music that you're practicing and playing, and it's kind of like I know a lot of producers like be against it, but it's like it's just like any knowledge thing. It's like do you need to like know math to be rich? Nah, but like you can't really say like knowing math is a bad thing or like it's gonna impact your ability to grow or make bread if you learn this kind of. It's just another skill set and thing. It's definitely. Oh, I never met a producer that learned a little bit more and was worse off for it. Like I've never really like learned a little bit, couple techniques, learned how to like figure out their bass lines, things like that. It makes the process so much easier because there's so many things I don't even think about. It just naturally comes to me that I see other producers have to think about. Like I don't have to think about like finding a bass line for a key. I'm hopping on a keyboard, I'm just going. Compared to like, oh wait, I gotta find the key. That takes a minute. And then the more you get advanced in the production, like you gotta be quicker. Like, yo, so the dude is sitting there, he about to come in an hour. This shit got to be done because old boy so like, yo, let's hurry up, let's do all that. So I think it definitely adds, but I feel like even the clicking and all the clicking and the chopping, the splice loops and all that, even that takes a certain level of like skill and arrangement and speed. Because even the clicking and stuff, I see the speed run Fruity Loop Studios. I'm like, how the fuck are these kids doing this shit? Like they're clicking and do all that stuff. So I'm like, if you mix that ability with a little bit, like you're not gonna be able to be stopped. It's like you'll just be on a different tier, and you'll be different from your peers.
Right. And it sounds like being a musician just gives you more options. You just have more tools in your toolbox as a music producer. When I listen to your music, it's a unique blend of like soul R&B mixed with a little bit of pop, with a little bit of ambient music. Who were some of your music production influences that kind of help guide you or mold you into creating this unique sound?
You know what's crazy? Like I was very big on like video game music. So like all those composers, Final Fantasy, Donkey Kong, Mario, like all of that was kind of like what piqued my musical interest from the beginning. And then from there, it's like you got the Princes, you have the Timbaland Danger Hands, you have the Neptunes, Tim and Bob. Polo the Dawn era was really big for me. And then kind of like once that Polo the Dawn, T Pain, the Dream, like the Dream's one of my favorites of all time. So like once that era, like right around then is when I started making beats. And low key, like what I did, what a lot of people don't like, I low key kind of shut off like musically. Like from that point on, like after like that, once I started making music, I was kind of just like locked in onto what I did in the past. And like I think maybe now recently I'm like listening to more music and I'm like, oh yeah, I like these techniques. I like but like a lot of my sound is a lot of those like video game 90s, 70s, 80s, R&B, soul funk stuff. And then once the Dream hit and T-Pain hit, I was like, yeah, you know what? This is music for me. This is like the peak. I'm good. I'm good. Anything past this is extra, but this is a sound that can work.
Moving forward in your journey here, what would you say was your first major placement in the music industry?
Jeezy's talking on Trap or Die too. But then it was funny is around that same time, I also was when I first started working with Mac Miller. So I always say it's funny, like Jeezy was my first placement, but Mac's placement ended up being the bigger placement when it's all said and done. Like, so I don't know, I say Jeezy's my first, but then that was around the same time that I also did the Mac Miller Face in the Crowd. He just wasn't that big of a star. He wasn't known like that when we did that record, but that was around the same time. So the Jeezy and Mac were my first.
How did you first get into working with Mac Miller? What was that process like?
Oh man, that's funny. Like I was big on forums and I was on this mixtape forum called Rap Mullet. And I was working with like a lot of producers who were working in Atlanta and doing stuff like Shorty Red and stuff like that. So I was like on these other forums and just had like musical knowledge. And Mac's manager at the time had hit me like, yo, I got this kid, he in a duo, but he about to go solo. You wanna like check his stuff out, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'll listen to people's stuff, but I wasn't even thinking like, yeah, I don't work with him. And it's like I was listening, I was like, this is cool, this is cool, this is cool. And then I heard him rap a freestyle on Trey the Truth Swang. And I was like, you gotta be a different type of white dude to be rapping on Trey the Truth. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's when I like started to respect, like, oh nah, this dude is like tapped in for real. So then I reached out and then the rest is history.
Work with Mac Miller, you collaborated with him a few times. Do you have a specific collaboration that stood out to you as your favorite?
Honestly, I have to say, because a lot of the earlier collaborations were digital, even though we kicked it a lot in person, but it was like, I'll probably say maybe 2018 in LA when I had did the background vocals for Swimming. And that was like we had like chopped it up in maybe like 2 years or something. And he was just like, yo, I'm working on this album, pull up to the crib. So that was like a good experience because we got to kick it in person, like hang out, chill, make a little bit of music and stuff like that. So that was a dope experience.
Do you have a preference on working with artists in person versus emailing instrumentals, or does it not quite matter to you?
I used to be obviously you want the experience of working with artists. And I will say, like, I wish I worked with artists more, not like from a producer standpoint. I wish I recorded artists more. Like I wish I got more experience, like, yo, me and you, like, because people don't realize how crippling it is when you're in the studio. You gotta be like, oh yeah, I can record you. And you realize you can't, you gotta go out front and get the engineer to come back in and stuff. Like that's the worst. So I wish I had more experience. So I say regardless, people should get their in-person reps up for sure. I used to like emailing, but my new favorite thing now is send me the acapella. Send me the acapella and let me fully explore and do whatever. Cause I felt like sometimes you don't get a chance to really do what you want to do musically because the artist is like, nah, that's good enough. But it's like if you were able to do what you want to do and you send that beat in, they'd be going crazy over it. But it's like in the process of creating, sometimes you don't want to fuck up the flow. So it's like you might want to add a little bit more to this section, but the artist is already in a pocket and a rhythm. Like you can't play. You play one wrong sound. You know, it's like going through sounds. You play one weird sound and you fuck up the whole vibe for the whole night type thing. So
Yeah.
I'm starting to like and have more fun. Like, yo, do whatever you want to do in the studio. You got a beat that you record to from YouTube, whatever, bro. That's actually the best. Record to it on YouTube. Send me the acapella. Let me go crazy. And then I send it back to you. You'd be like, ooh, I like this. I like this. And then we go and like work and build it out from there just because like it allows both of us to kind of get our shit off. Like the artist can fully be the artist. I can fully be the producer. And then we can come together and make something crazy.
Sometimes producers, especially newer producers, don't quite know when to stop adding sounds. And that way, artists don't quite know where to fit on the beat. You're able to use a good amount of sounds, and artists are still able to get on your beat. So, how do you balance adding enough sounds to your beat versus leaving enough space for the artist to actually fit on it?
I say that was like a learned process over time. I was really bad with it in the beginning. Like it takes a lot 'cause I definitely have a lot of ideas, but I feel like as I got better at mixing, I was able to do more. So it's like it wasn't even so much that I had that many sounds. It was just so poorly mixed that nothing fit well. And really the main mixing thing is panning. Like keeping everything dead center and everything going in, like just creating more movement in the sound actually is like, oh, okay. And just really doing the mix. But there definitely does need to be a point where it's like you kind of stop. And that's why I feel like the acapella stuff comes in handy because it's like when you're building around the acapella, it's easier to keep yourself in check as far as like, all right, this is sounding a little bit too much. Compared to when you just have free open range to do whatever, you got 100 instruments. And that's what makes like a lot of the older production, they had like 16, 24 tracks. That's it. So it's like when you're dealing with these older machines, like you couldn't put 50 sound, like you couldn't put 80 effects on, like you couldn't do it. So it's kind of like I shouldn't need more than like 12. And the more sometimes interesting sounds, there's a lot of good sound designers. You might have to pick a more interesting sound and like trying to load up the piano and the pad and the synth that's all playing the same shit. You might gotta find like there's some patch out there that's got like everything, and then you mix the VST, and it's just one instrument instead of three. And it saves your computer processing. It's just like all types of little tricks like that.
So, how did that Carter 4 placement happen?
Well, that's actually crazy because I was signed to a production company 2011, like around the same time that Mac joint. So that production company was working close with T-Pain at that time. So that was a beat that we had did for T-Pain originally, but then Miami session, I wasn't even there for I think I was in Atlanta at that time, but that was just like Miami session, Wayne and T-Pain. It was like, "Oh, no, I need this for my house." That's the thing, that's why, like, I think T-Pain is on majority of that song, but that was originally, like it was supposed to be reversed, T-Pain featured Lil Wayne, but I actually even think they were supposed to be doing a project or, like, working they were doing a lot of work together at that time.
Yeah, I
So it was
remember
just
that.
kind of a situation, so it's like I just kinda not, like, lucked up, but this is one of those, like, collaboration and kinda like a networking thing of, like, being part of a network and, like, picking a network of people that's attached to the right situations, and things happen.
How did your career change since getting the Grammy nomination? Did a lot of opportunities open up, or what exactly changed from there?
I would say the main thing that changed, you definitely are gonna get contacted by all the pub admin, publishing people. You're definitely gonna be on people's radar. But I mean, as far as like work, it just legitimizes you. You know what I mean? Like the same people that have been following you are now gonna be like, oh, okay, let's work, or like, oh, okay, let's do some stuff. So I wouldn't say like all of a sudden I'm getting like sign deal offers and things like that, but I definitely saw the increase of like at least opportunities to submit to. You're getting a lot of who's looking lists, a lot of like different things. Only thing that sucked is like in that era, because there wasn't streaming, a lot of songs are getting recorded, leaked, never come out. A lot of albums getting shelved. Like, albums don't really get shelved like that anymore. I've noticed. I'm like, albums either come out, they do like a deluxe, or like songs still come out. So I think like a lot of the songs, like the opportunities that we did have and things that did happen, it's like song leaks, album leaks, artists all of a sudden not coming out anymore. So I think that just kind of like makes it a little bit difficult. And that's kind of like what always happens when you're like relying on when you're working with other artists, like you're working in bed with them, so it's like y'all careers are locked in. So you're only gonna go as far as the artists go. If they going through something, or they're like mentally checked out, or their label's not rocking with them, the album's not coming, and the album's not coming out.
Just kind of piggybacking off of that, these days producers, they're getting their hopes up when they see an artist kind of do like a little Instagram post or a little Instagram, story, and then like, oh crap, I'm about to work with this big artist, and then it never actually comes out, and they feel real disappointed because
Yeah.
they told their friends and their family. So, what kind of advice would you give to those producers to kind of like mentally deal with that? Like, how do you deal with that? How do you prepare for that?
I would mainly say don't tell nobody. Let's say as much as it sucks to say, don't, because I've seen some embarrassing situations, man. It hasn't happened to me personally. I was a little bit scared it was gonna happen to me, but I definitely had a friend who was telling people like, "Yeah, I'm on this album. I'm on this album." We got his whole family buying the album. Album came out, name not there. And like, yeah, you're gonna go and you do the contract and you get the paperwork and everything. You're right on the digital credits, but that first pressing of the CD is like, damn, you know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
definitely it definitely could let you down a little bit. It's a little bit embarrassing, you know what I mean? Like that. And then it's like people in your business, like, damn, what happened here? You said you was all that. And then it's like, it's just not really worth it in that type of way. As exciting as it may be, you gotta kind of wait till you see it for yourself. Like, yo, all right, here, boom. And then, because the fanfare is the same. Like, whether you tell them before or when they come out or whatever, it's like the fanfare is gonna be the same energy. People still gonna respect it and rock with it. It's very easy to be like, "Yo, this dude's on IG, he's playing my beat and doing my stuff." And it's cool to play into it and play a part of it. You record it and share it on yours. Go ahead, do your thing. But like, you just can't start like, yo, and I'm about to go to the bank and I'm about to, woo whoop. And maybe I should buy that speakers that I was talking about. It's time for me to invest in myself. Like, you just gotta slow it down sometimes before until when the check clears, go at it. So then just chill, temper the expectations a little.
Gotcha. So don't get too excited. You gotta wait for it.
Yeah, and it sucks, man, because it's like you can't help but like get that text, that email, like, "Yo, Kendrick's fucking with the shit," and then you're like, "Damn, bro," you tell all the like now it's like I can't even mentally think, and I wouldn't even think like maybe a couple of your close friends, ones who also other creatives who understand. Like I know homie graphic design homies who like, "Yo, $50,000 to do this live resort graphic design campaign." Shit fall through, but it's like we homies. I understand that, but I know that he not telling everybody that because people gonna be like, "Yo, where the money at? Yo, what happened? I thought you said you was gonna." And people are just people you realize who really there for you in those moments, like who really fuck with you. So you gotta just have your tight circle of people because you're gonna naturally be excited. How could you not? It could bite you in the ass for sure.
Exactly. Coming from your era, I would always hear about different producers having other producers or musicians that worked with them. These days, in this era, we have, these things called loop makers where they can be all the
Mhm.
way in, Uzbekistan, they could be in
Yeah.
Nigeria, they could be in wherever. So you have people who are musically inclined, but they're not quite tapped into the business side of things. So, what advice would you give for those loop makers working with bigger producers, production companies to kind of keep themselves safe in the process of working with bigger producers?
You wanna make sure that you got your own legal representation or things that can protect you separate from any artist, management, publishing, and income. Like you wanna have your own people. Cause like what happens is like you might get a lawyer and have legal help from the publishing and then company, but like it's business. Like everybody's on the side of who's gonna get the thing done and make the check clear. So you could have a lawyer that's working with the publishing admin company or the label and they're looking over contracts, but they're going to advise you and guide you towards the thing that's going to make the situation settle easy. Like they're going to want, it's not necessarily what's going to be best for you. So I feel like, and obviously it's hard when because, things cost money or whatever, but it's like, I definitely think that people should be keeping in mind that like, I gotta stack my bread up and actually get like real legitimate rep, especially once you start getting these big placements. If you getting like 7 to 10, I know some of these dudes are getting like 7 to 10 placements a year, something like that. Like, yeah, you gotta start taking that little bit of bread, stacking it up, and getting people to really like make yourself because you're a real legitimate co-producer, a machine for these records, and it's like nobody on the other side is gonna be fighting for you to unless you sign with them. If you sign a publishing deal with them, I'm sure then it's like that's a different story because they are invested in you getting the best situation. But if they're not, you want to make sure that you just got people on your side that can make sure that you got the best situation and go after people so that you don't have to go. Because going after people is like even if you have the clout to go after somebody and try to chase after bread, it just takes time that you could be spending doing other things. It's like, nah, you should definitely try to just make sure you have legal representation. And then also like just don't be too fanned out. That's like probably the biggest thing because when you get too fanned out and you're too much of a fan or the idea of the opportunity, like you don't do what's best for you and yours. You know what I mean? Because you're just so like, nah, I need to get this. Like it's okay. These guys selling 3 to 10,000 copies, man. Like there's nobody really worth it like that. That's the way that I'm looking at it. Like I see these album sales and stuff. I'm like, I can't really see an artist that's worth getting fucked over on. You know what I mean? Like what's an artist that's really gonna sell that many copies? They're like, I'm okay if this deal don't go sour. Because I could say I produced for like Beyonce, Bruno Mars, something like that. But like, there's less and less of those. So I don't feel like people should be throwing away their freedom for. I don't even want to throw a name out and beat this as but for a dude that just got onto the scene and just got popping, and you're throwing it all away because these artists is just a different type of era. If it's Sabrina Carpenter, like, okay, I could see why a bootmaker or somebody would be like, fuck it, bro, I don't even care. It's Sabrina Carpenter. My mom listens to her. But it's like some of these other artists is definitely like probably worth like making it a little bit difficult. Like, nah, this dude gonna sell 3,000 pie. Like, you're not even gonna make any back end money off this. This album ain't recouping, bro. You know what I mean? Like, so there's no point of fighting for or not fighting for like your back end. Like fight for what you need to fight for, what's gonna make you feel whole.
Like one thing that loop makers may say, because these days it's like 5 or 6 different people on the production credits. They might feel like, okay, if I push back, I might ruin my reputation in the industry for standing up for myself. So, what type of advice would you give them on that balance between standing up for yourself and not ruining your reputation?
I think your reputation is going to get ruined if you stand up for yourself, regardless. But like, if you're a good person and you're not disrespectful to people, and you, at the end of the day, you got 5, 6 producers. Only Cardo's selling his catalog for 100 million. Them other 4 or 5 guys aren't. So you got to do what's best for you because you going to get the names and things, but we don't know them other guys. We know one. We know the first, maybe the second. We know who's the, so I understand like we don't want to look a certain type of way. But at the end of the day, when it's not kumbaya, it's like at the end of the day, who's selling their catalog for multi millions? It's not them 3, 4 guys at the end. So do you want to be the guy? Because everybody's selling the loops. Most of those dudes are doing that forever. They had never been the main. They never been Metro. They never been Southside. They never. They are always in this position. So you just got to make sure that like you put yourself in a. Everybody got to earn their stripes. That's fact, right? But it's like you just have to make sure you're putting yourself in a position where you can win because the guys who, because all them guys that I named, they were all the second, third, fourth producers. But somebody at some point, they all probably, everybody got stories where y'all, I produced this song, I ain't getting no credit on, but everybody did. But at a certain point, they hit a point where it's like, yo, I got to get my own artists that I work with, like London on the track. I got to get my own people that I do it. But I have to, there has to be a certain point where the flip, it flips the switch where it's like, okay, I got to be in control of this. Like, it's cool. I'm earning my stripes. People gonna feel a way about, but like this is business. Everybody's gonna feel a way when their work labor wants to break off and start doing their own business. Like what boss wouldn't be mad? That's how business is. They're gonna be upset. They're gonna be mad. They're not gonna like you. They want to fuck you over. They're gonna talk bad about you. They want to say, nah, this dude's difficult to work with. It is what it is. That's business. You live in your truth. You know who you are. You treat people. You shake hands, kiss babies. Because people can say that I'm difficult, but I'm not a bad guy. And at a certain point, and as you elevate and do your things, like a lot of the rooms and the whispers, you're gonna be so far away from it where it won't matter. It's like you really do have to lock in and really focus on what's best for you in that situation.
Right. And one thing that I'm hearing is, especially starting at the beginning of our conversation, is you're a musician, you're a producer, and I also know you get into DJing. And one good thing is to have leverage so you're not stuck in one specific area. I am noticing more and more producers getting into DJing. So, what was your journey like into adding DJing into your repertoire of music?
Well, it's crazy because it's like I had just got out of college and I was reading a lot of interviews and I saw a Ty Dolla $ign interview and he was talking about Ty Dolla $ign was another artist that I really fuck with. And I was like, damn, he wants to work with these SoundCloud creators. He was talking about like these different names. And I was like looking up the names and I was like, listen to me. They're like, this is cool. I'm like, why can't I be up on here and doing this type of thing? So I was just kind of like looking at the market and the area of where people were. And I was like, oh, okay, this is the place where I could really thrive and strive in for sure. And I just really just started practicing, went on YouTube, how to DJ, did that out, and just really started building the SoundCloud out and started releasing music and instrumentals in a lane that was already growing and just went from there.
Would you advise other producers to at least give DJing a try, just to have an
Oh
additional
yeah.
skill?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just like what I was saying about the music thing. Like it's a skill. And I think like as a producer, it's hard to get bread off of just like I make beat, you buy beat, I'm making money. Like if you want to do what you love and you love music, you gotta get it any way possible. So if you could go and learn how to DJ and you can get you 200, 300, 150, 400, you start elevating, like let's say you're nice. 400, 500. Next thing you know, you could be making a rack to DJ and still be, you know what I'm saying? And still got your job and still be DJing. So it's just like, it's just another skill. I think you definitely have to be like a little bit more plugged in to get these like relationships and things you gotta grow, whatever. But you never know who's gonna throw you a little bit of bread just for DJing, just on the random. Like your grandma might hit you like, yo, the old houses need a DJ for quick 300. People are actually making a little bit of quick money off these little bits of skills. And that's like with any skills, graphic design skills, DJing, editing websites, like whatever you can do to go and put some extra money and the income stream coming in, you good.
Some producers, we kind of have that stereotype of just wanting to sit in the basement, cooking up beats all day and, with super dark room and it's nobody else in there. But, getting out, networking, meeting people while you're DJing is really super valuable. So, from your experience, has DJing like opened up doors for production? Like, specifically, has it connected you to production opportunities?
Production, nah, but I would say, well, yeah, I would say production opportunity, but I would say like it honestly changed my life just in the concept of like DJing brought me around the world. I was able to go to different countries and have different experiences that like you might be able to get them off of producing. And there's definitely producers going to some of these places, but like I was able to go out, perform my own music, and do all these things all over the world. So just off of that experience alone, like it could really build to that level, and it's just something that can like go along with your production career and your reputation for what you do in your music. And it's a skill like that people definitely value and can put you in some rooms in for sure.
Now, getting back to your story, there's a beat that you worked on that I listen to all the time. It's Eric Bellinger's "Nude." Do you remember
Crazy.
how you put that together? Because I instantly hit that stank face when I first heard that beat, man. So how did you put
Oh
that
man,
together?
that was definitely made in the era. That was probably made in the same era around when we made the Lil Wayne joint. Like that same, I think that summer I had went down to Atlanta and I was working with this producer, and we were just like in there, just in the crib. That was definitely part of this whole pack because he was about to fly out to LA at like the end of August. I think it was like maybe June. And we were like, yo, we gonna try to make a beat a day. So we truly until I leave or whatever, just so that you would go out to LA and have like mad beats. And that was definitely one of the beats.
Now, when I listen to your production, I know you're a Reason guru. I believe you've been using have you been using Reason your entire
Man,
career?
but I've never used anything but Reason. I've tried everything. I tried everything, but it's just like it's just too comfortable for me. It's just way too comfortable for me. I can't lie to you.
Now, is there anything specific about that DAW that you love as far as the workflow, or is it something in the sound that you love, or is it just all around everything?
Oh no, truth be told, the workflow, I'm not gonna get no Reason sponsorship if I were to talk about the workflow. The workflow could be leaves a lot compared to like when I see people using an Ableton and things like that. But for me, and coming from a piano playing background and like anybody old remembered like downloading, like trying to download VSTs and fucking on my mama's laptops and all that types of shit. I done got my ass beat too many times over things. So it's like for me, I wasn't really with the whole I need to download sounds. Like for me, it was like I need sounds out the gate. I don't want to have to download VSTs. I want a good sound bank. And I felt like Reason, and still to this day, I still die on the hill that Reason got the best sounds. Like best stock VSTs, like pay for Reason, open it up, go play. Like, yeah, I think Reason bar for bar is the best. Although I don't use every single extra new thing, but even when I do use the new things, I'm like, man, Reason is definitely one of my favorites for sure. Workflow could be better, but sound choice, 10 out of 10.
I remember using Reason, and there's a way of creating your own patches in there that really help you create your own sound. You know, you can
Yeah.
have your thumbprint on your productions. So that being said, what advice would you give for producers as far as creating their own distinct sound for themselves?
The main thing, you really do just gotta take some time to learn your sound library. We got so many sounds and VSTs and patches. Like, I think it's hard to dictate what types of sounds you're really gonna make, even in any genre, so you really know like what you got. I think people just going in. I need an electric piano. They open up a lounge lizard or wherever they get their electric pianos at, and they just go instead of like really like sitting and going through all the sounds, like knowing where certain types of pitches and stuff, especially now because it's like old. A lot of these VSTs are old. Like the versions that they were out like maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, there might be better updated reverbs on certain things. I think like once you really sit in with your sound and sit in with the sound banks that you got, sounds you have access to, it makes it a lot easier for you to figure out like, okay, I want to go into this genre and use these instruments.
You've kind of transitioned from producing for artists and, doing the industry placement thing to doing more sync licensing, and you have like your sync company. So tell us a bit more on why you got into sync and, how that's been for you as far as the experience.
Oh man, I mean, honestly, I think it just kind of went along with DJing and just being more of a like self front facing artist. I think it's just as I got more into that and I realized like if I produce a song with an artist, when I started getting contacted about like certain TV shows, TV opportunities, and it's like the deals would fall through because the label was asking for a crazy amount of bread. And I'm like, damn, we could have got this if these dudes were to ask up 75,000. You know what I mean? Like things like that. I was like, I need to create a situation where I can kind of be in control of these opportunities and things like that. I just felt like the business behind the sync was a little bit, it's not perfect, but it was a little bit cleaner and clearer. And I was kind of able to put my music into the spaces and places that I wanted to be necessarily. Then, like when you're working with artists, you're going where that label feels like the artist should be. So you're gonna be doing shampoo commercials, you're gonna do stuff that you might not really care for compared to like I can go and make certain types of music and like pitch it for sports documentaries, pitch it for video games, pitch it for other things. It's just it gives you a little bit with the type of music that I was making, it just gave me a more broad approach to submissions and things like that.
So, what advice would you give to producers who actually want to get their foot in the door as far as sync licensing?
I mean, there's a lot of services. There's Jungle Audio. There's a lot of different services that provide sync, but unfortunately with sync, it's just one of those things where that is definitely you got to get out the basement and go and meet people. The good thing is though, compared to like a lot of music conferences with pop culture, like the South by Southwest, those things, like you will really get good benefit at a sync conference or meeting these syncs, like sync professionals at these sync conferences, these panels and things like that. I think going to these places and having these conversations, you can build the network and build the email list of the people to submit into these spaces. You just got to put yourself into these spaces and not just music like sync conferences, but even the places that use music. So film festivals, video game stuff, all these types of things where people are using and looking for music within their service. Like you're like it's like the music thing, being a piano player. Like you want to provide service for people. So you gotta go where people are like looking for something and people are looking for music, especially with all this free custom license, YouTube generated, like all that music. People still want to be able to be like, no, I commissioned this piece of music though. Like this is my theme song though. Like they still want that aspect. So music still has a high value level for a lot of these other spaces. And people aren't really looking for that. And especially hip hop genres, R&B genres, like a lot of these guys are just like older, different rock guys, country guys. They kind of need fresh new faces within like the hip hop, electronic, R&B genres for sure.
Are you the one you're going out and contacting the networks, or do you have a person working at your company to help you license the music? Like, how exactly is your music connected to the networks?
So basically, I have a couple different services. So I have this one service based out of France that helps co-pitch a lot of the stuff that I have access to a lot of different pitches and things like that. I have another friend, Dante, who I do a lot of sync with. He's the one who I was able to get into the Russell Westbrook Passion Play documentary. I did that with the company that he was working for. And that was like the same type of situation. He's been a fan since SoundCloud and just worked at this company and was like, hey, were you interested in that? But the interesting thing with that situation was like, which I guess would say would be a big thing is like putting it out there that it's something that you're interested in doing in the first place. Because a lot of these people don't even know that people would be interested in even doing it. You know what I mean? I think that one day I tweeted like, I want to be the black Trent Reznor. And he hit me like, yo, what do you mean by that? And I was like, yo, I just think it's dope. You know, he did the Nine Inch Nails thing and I just scoring all these movies and stuff like that. And he just kind of killing it. And then we built a relationship with the Sync. So I think a lot of Sync people, or there's probably a lot of people who may be following you on Instagram or engages you already that they don't even know that you'd be interested. They think that their job is boring. Oh, yeah, you wouldn't be interested. Why would you care about that? But like you actually do because you want to build relationship with this and the studios and things like that through legal people because legal people representing artists, but they also representing actors, screenwriters, this and that. They're having so asking people like, hey, you know, if you know anybody looking for stuff, like I'm open to. So it's really just being open minded and just building your network from piece by piece, brick by brick. You go into one disco. Disco.ac is another good program that people be doing a lot of pitch stuff through, sync licensing stuff through. So you just do from there and just build relationships, build a good relationship, and you're good.
You've been in the music game for quite a long time. So you've heard a lot of different beats, you've seen a lot of producers come and go. So what's one mistake or habit that you're hearing newer producers do that you wish you could kind of correct them now, early on?
I think people got to realize the dopamine of social media and going online and yapping with the community and getting all that. That's not the work. You know what I mean? Like, I think you can go online, you can go on Twitter, Facebook, wherever, make a take, make a hot take. I say hot takes on the internet all the time, but it's like, but I do the work too. There's a lot of people who are just going online and saying things, galvanizing like this community around them, but that community doesn't support your work. So what are you really doing this for? You know what I mean? Like, so I would just say like a lot of people just like don't forget to do the work. They're like, don't forget to make the beats. Don't become this online celebrity more worried about reactions online, interactions, argument, even and it's not even just like arguing, like even just caring about positive stuff. Like, oh man, I ain't made a beat. Dudes hop on Twitter or something. I ain't made a beat in 3 months, but I still feel good about myself and get 100 likes. I feel good. That's not work. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not you can't go to sleep feeling like you accomplished something that day. Like you gotta make the beats. You gotta make sure your website is gonna make sure all your links are pointing to the right stuff. It's a lot of day-to-day maintenance that's together that's like when I see people saying something I don't agree with and I go click their page and put this up, I'm like, oh yeah, bro, you're not even serious. Like I can't even take what you're saying serious. You're not at
Exactly.
that level for me to even respect what you're saying. I can't even really take what you're saying. It's like hoops. It's like you're not gonna allow a person to come to the park who can't play and maneuver a certain way in the park. It's like, bro, you have to earn a right to be at this level to be like saying things. There's a lot of guys, alchemists. There's a lot of producers, big name producers who are online. Yeah, conversation. So people go like, "Oh, well, what about him?" I'm like, "They did it. They did it. They're there. They're already in the space that you want to be at. Like, you can't be looking at what other people are doing. You gotta just keep on tunnel vision. There's always some metadata that needs to be up. There's always some description. There's always some mix, some section you forgot about that needs to be handled.
What's one thing that you know about production at this stage in your career that you wish you knew at the very beginning?
Not even so much remember. I just wish I did it more when we were really at our peak of SoundCloud. You do not need permission to sell your music. Like, I wish that I sold my music more and engaged with Bandcamp and those things more in the way that I do now. Further on, like, I really nothing. I don't even know what I couldn't even tell you what dudes was thinking as to why. It's like it was right there. It's just like you can get caught up in the flow of what everything else is going on. But because I've kind of removed myself from working a different field so much, I'm able to like sit and like process things a little bit different. Because in like the hip hop electronic, you just moving constantly. But I just think that I forgot you put so much music out for free. You could look up and see in 10 years you drop 100 songs, and none of them songs is on Bandcamp. None of them songs is, you know what I mean? You could have hundreds of thousands of them, like you never, not single one time, thought to put any of that stuff up for sale. And then the second you start putting your stuff up for sale and you see $1, $2, $5, seven, you start seeing all these sales, you're like, damn, if I was doing this when we were really moving and dropping 10,000 plays in a week on SoundCloud and doing that era of stuff, but then it's like, you never know. People buying music is a lot different than it was back then, too. Like, a lot more people are open to buying via Bandcamp or buying music via your website than they were in 2015, 2016. Like, it really wasn't until people saw how little we got paid off streaming that people really said, like, oh, no, I gotta actually, if I want to support my artist, I gotta actually buy this record. So I would probably say like the main thing was just like you don't need permission to sell your music. You don't need permission to do anything musically. Like somebody's always gonna be looking at you crazy. I just told my boy, I was like, yeah, but I'm doing some vinyl. Oh, I was like, what joint is the joint out? I'm like, nah, the joint's not out yet. He's like, what? The joint's not out yet? I'm like, yeah. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying things and like you gotta try different things and do stuff, especially because nobody really has the answers or really knows. So I know I can sell music. I know I can sell merch. Let me try different little different things. If it don't cost me too much, it's like, yeah, why not? You never really know.
Yeah, sometimes people are afraid to make mistakes because they're afraid to kind of look foolish in front of people. But like like you were saying, the process of experimenting and trying different things out, that's how you get the data to know if something works and then you can continue doing it, or you can adjust and do something different.
Yeah, like nobody's gonna come in and shoot me if I don't sell these out. You know, and nobody's gonna kill me. If it doesn't, it's like, ah, damn, okay. And I'm pretty sure like I'll find a local record store or something to have a car. And that's another thing, like pivoting. You take a bet, I don't sell these out. Find a local record store. Go have a conversation like, hey, I'm an artist. I got these vinyl. Would y'all be willing to buy? You know what I mean? You just got to be a little bit more raw. We're getting way more into that bootleg, indie, bootstrap dream roots type, grassroots type of work with music for sure. So you just never know. You always got to just be experimenting and trying different things.
What projects do you have coming up that we should be looking out for, the producer community should be looking out for so they can go ahead and check that out?
Oh man, well, I mean, I'm working on this vinyl for this next single that I'm doing called Torch. I just pressed it up. It should be shipped out by like mid-August. So I'm gonna be trying to get like a pre-save link for that. And I've mainly been on, this is another thing I suggest. I've mainly been on Substack. I've been on Substack heavy. I have my newsletter that I've been emailing out. I just dropped another newsletter where I'm gonna be doing like music business tips and things like that. I actually gotta probably work on that after
Mm.
tonight, where my homie asked me like 3 questions and then good to go.
Now, for those who don't know, what exactly is Substack?
Substack is a newsletter meets social media platform that basically it kind of is like, I don't know if you remember MailChimp. You know, people get like gather your emails and you
Yep.
send out via MailChimp. So
Mhm.
I was using MailChimp back in the day, had a lot of the emails and they priced me out. I was like, I can't pay for all of this thing. I was like looking for different solutions for newsletters. So I joined like Substack maybe 2020, like 5 years ago. And I was, oh, this is a cool platform. But then I think around like when the TikTok ban was happening, I think I just started seeing more conversation. Oh no, when Elon bought Twitter. When Elon bought Twitter, there was just so many conversation about like, yo, we moving on Twitter, we moving blah blah blah. And I would just keep names of like all the platforms that people were talking about, and people would talk about Substack, and I was like, I already have a Substack. I should. And I just kind of was like, you know what? I need to put more energy into this platform. And then kind of at the same time as me saying that, they themselves started like putting more energy into social media elements. Like now you can do videos and pictures and things. So now it's kind of becoming like a weird hybrid Tumblr meets newsletter. It's
Okay.
very interesting.
It sounds
Yeah,
interesting.
this is an exclusive. I'm hitting you with the bomb because I don't really see a lot of music business people talking about it. Music people don't talk about it because it's like what you said. People are scared to experiment. Like the main people that when I show them the site, they're like, "Yo, but what am I going to talk about on that?" I'm like, "Hey, don't be afraid to talk about whatever. Like, don't be
Right.
afraid to like do whatever." So I've been using that to kind of build and it has a paid subscriptions like Patreon, so you can build subscriptions, subscribers. It's definitely like, I know you've seen like a lot of producers and DJs trying to mess with the Patreon and doing like things. It's kind of like a similar stuff that's kind of growing. I mean, hopefully it could be as big as a Substack. But I was mainly using it for a cheap email list, and it's kind of turned into like a cool social media aspect. I'm getting a lot of engagement. I post my music, people clicking through the links because you're dealing with the audience, like the mediums. You gotta go where the mediums is at. Like if people are reading, go where the readers is at and put your words up on it so people can read what you doing and stuff like that. So I definitely think people should check out Substack for sure. Like my boy was just asking me if you would have asked someone was starting from zero, what sites would I be using if I was starting from brand zero? I would probably say Substack, YouTube, and Bandcamp. Like if I started from nothing, never had a fan, zero.
Where can people reach you online?
Okay, yeah, I'm on Substack. We had our time on Substack. I'm on Instagram. I haven't been on Twitter as much, but I'm mainly on Substack and Instagram. Instagram Drew's that dude. And yeah, like by all means, man, anybody hit me. I don't always check I'm not quick with the messages, but I always respond to everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining this podcast, sharing all those gems, giving us those stories, those incredible songs that you worked on. Thank
Oh
you so
man,
much for
thank
joining the
you, bro.
podcast, man.
Thank you for having me, man. This is actually, I'm not gonna say it's my first podcast, but this is definitely like one of the bigger ones that I've been on. I appreciate that, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, rate, leave a comment. The only way this podcast is going to continue to grow is if you interact with it. That way I know you're enjoying it. We can continue to add more and more interviews. Drew, once again, thanks for joining the podcast and have a great rest of your
Thank you
day.
for having me, bro.